Hi, it's Kathy Tombaugh, and I am so excited today to welcome Andrea Seydel, who is an author, a podcaster, a life coach, and has written a book to help with addiction, which is something that we all need. So welcome, Andrea. I'm glad you're here.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Kathy, for having me.
So if you could share some of your background and what led you to do this work around loved ones struggling with addiction, helping loved ones when they're in this situation.
Sure. Well, you don't expect to be going through this in life.
Right.
And I always say, like, my whole training is in positive psychology, and I have postgraduate studies in positive psychology and resilience training, and nothing prepared me for the turmoil and the struggle that comes from loving someone with an addiction. And it was the hardest thing that I've ever gone through in my entire life. In my case, I was in a 9-year relationship with someone who had an active addiction, and I only knew about it for the past 2 years, where he just couldn't hide it anymore. And in my case, I did lose him. And when I say that I lost him to addiction, he disappeared out of our life, abandoned me and the kids. And so that's what I mean by I lost him. And it's really sad. It's like mourning the loss of somebody that you love that's still alive. And in my case, it was my spouse, and just devastating. But I am all about turning pain into purpose. So I knew that I needed to create, the book, the podcast, the platform, in order to support those that love someone with an addiction. And I'd often say to myself, saving you is killing me. And that's how I came up with, obviously, the title of my book and the podcast and everything, because that's literally what I would be saying on a regular basis. Like, I'm losing me here. Like, I'm not in a good place. And it was a big struggle.
No, you make a great point. Family members are affected. As we know, like 1 in 4 to 5 people are affected if one person has a substance use issue. So, yeah, and it's devastating. And parents or other family members, spouses, it's hard to know what to do when you're, all of a sudden this is happening and it goes on and on and on, so it's difficult. Yeah. So that's great that you took something from your own experience and are trying to help others. So what did you struggle with most, do you think, when you were in the middle of it? What was the hardest thing for you?
That's such a good point. I felt very much alone. And I think that a lot of people feel that, is that you feel like you're alone in this. And there's this it's almost like you don't realize when you're in it, but there's so much shame around it. And you're kind of like, you're trying to navigate it. You're trying to keep your life together, but you're dealing with this bizarre behavior and this like, you don't even know how to love the person anymore, because you're reading up like, don't, love from a distance, create boundaries, and, all these things. You're codependent. It's like, like suddenly you feel like, you feel really, really shamed, and you feel very much alone, and you're confused. And I think the biggest struggle for me is that I loved this person so much that I wanted so badly for him to, seek recovery, seek treatment, to come back to the person that I fell in love with. I saw his potential and I would see glimmers of hope. So I think the biggest thing I struggled with is that I had to accept the fact that the person that's before me, like, is no longer the person that I fell in love with, and I'm not going to get him back. And I had to realize that, I was putting up with so much abuse and turmoil, and I literally was completely drowning myself. That was the hardest, is that I was putting his needs above my own. I was doing everything that a typical normal person would do, a compassionate, loving person would do to care for someone that they love.
That's hard. And it is overwhelming, I think, for so many families. So, yeah. And I always say they wish there was a direct, a recipe, or, parents say too, what's the silver bullet? What are these words that I can say? And as you said, you try so many things, and then you're called dependent, codependent, or an enabler, which just makes the family member feel worse. It doesn't make you feel better. You're just trying to help your loved ones. So, yeah, it's tough. And now I know you work with other family members. So what do you see them going through? What are some issues that come up for them a lot that you see, over and over and over again?
Yeah, I think the general pattern is, was for me and for a lot of people is just that cycle of abuse and then feeling almost like, how could I be so stupid, like so hard on ourselves? It's like, I allow that again. And like, I'm just trying to figure this out. And I think that the biggest struggle is to practice self-compassion. I think the biggest struggle is to recognize that you might be drowning, that you really have, you sometimes neglect yourself because you're so mentally, physically, and like exhausted and consumed with this person, that I think that the biggest common struggle that I'm seeing is that people lose their power, they lose their sparkle, they lose their ability, like the realization that they've kind of neglected themselves because they're putting someone else's needs above their own. And I think this self-compassion piece is just, and also feeling alone. So I always, emphasize that, you're not alone. There's so many people touched by addiction, and recognize the common humanity that it is exhausting. It is hard. It is devastating. It's sad. It's, we can be in despair at times. It's like, you are human, and those emotions are very, very real, and they're there communicating, telling you things, communicating with you to keep you safe. And I think that is the biggest thing that a lot of my clients that we're working through, and is to take back your power, is to shift that spotlight onto you again. And the only thing that you can do really is save yourself.
That's a really good point. I was thinking when you were talking about that, the idea of, you have to work on yourself first. You have to find yourself, get back to your balance. And, because I think when this happens to any family member, you feel like you're just drowning, you don't know what's going on, and it's incident after incident. And so you really want to find yourself again and see how you can get through this in a better way. So I loved your book, Saving You is Killing Me. And so can you talk about it's so filled with so much information for family members, any family member could benefit. And so what are some of the key pieces in there, or things that helped you, even if it's something that you came up with later, but yeah, what are some key pieces that helped you along the way?
Sure. I think one of the key takeaways is this idea that we can struggle well.
Mhm.
And I really love that terminology, because it's not about just sweeping something under the carpet or pretending it doesn't exist, or like, I'm setting boundaries, so I don't ever want to see you again. It's like, we can't always do that. And we can't pretend that it's not going on, because it's going on. And so the reality is that I think that there is a way that we can struggle well. And science has shown that we can't just put on those blinders and pretend that bad things don't happen, and that we're always in positive emotions, and positive, it's like toxic positivity, right? Struggling well is all about building your resiliency, building up yourself, so that when the wind does blow, you're not going to fall over. Like it's like a tree with strong roots. It's building resilience. And in positive psychology, this idea of bouncing back is really what resilience is all about. And it's about not necessarily, it's like recognizing that you will get knocked down, but there are so many intentional behaviors. There's so many things that we can actually do to help build our resource of, whatever it is, resilience, build our resources of self-compassion, build our resources of self-efficacy and confidence, and build our resource of self-worth, for also building our resource of emotional agility, so that, we can honor emotions. We can know where we feel them in our bodies. We can know how to stress manage those strong emotions, such as anger and sadness and things like that. So building resilience is all about tapping into our ability to bounce back, to be strong even amongst challenge, and build hope. So there's many things within the book that I wanted to touch on, but that the main common kind of thread through the whole book is, it does take courage to focus on you, to take back your power. But the common thread is this idea that we can struggle well. We can't pretend this isn't happening, because it is. But what we can do is we can shift the focus back onto us, honor our emotions, tap into our self-worth and our worthiness, tap into self-care that's beyond just bubble baths and like soaking in the tub, self-care on all levels, connecting to community and connecting to friends and sources of support. As you can see, I'm very passionate. There's a lot we could do. And there's a lot within this book as well that offers support.
Great tips. I love it. Yeah, there is a lot to do. And I think it's really great to hear that. I think people, family members, anyone, he needs to hear this over and over and over again, because it's so easy, like you said, to just get sucked into all the issues and the problems. So you talked about resilience, self-compassion. I think you had a couple of things too, but confidence and self-worth that's wonderful. That, those are things to just keep in mind to do for yourself. So did you find support groups helpful too before you started your own, or what were some things like that? Did you go to counseling? I mean, what things did you put in place to try to get yourself to this point?
Yeah. And it's that, when you're in that place, you just sort of feel hopeless. There's despair. You just feel like exhausted. Like I remember saying, I just can't do this anymore. So when I was in that place, I did recognize that, okay, I need to focus on Andrea, like what am I? And so it actually started with such a simple ritual. I would say to myself, what am I needing, feeling, wanting? And I would just tap into, because you forget about what you're needing. You forget, you're so consumed. So it's like tapping back in. It's like, I feel this and I feel angry. I feel devastated. I feel disappointed. I feel frustrated, like recognizing all those feelings. It's like, okay, what am I needing? And it's like, at first it might be like, oh my gosh, like, what am I needing? It's like you almost forget. And it's one time I have said, I'm exhausted. I was even saying this to my friend, like, I'm exhausted. And she's like, Andrea, then rest. Like you need rest. It's like, it's like, as soon as it's almost like, it's so simple, but it's such a simple thing you can do, that I'm feeling this, what am I needing? Because there's usually needs behind what's going on. And so like, I need, I might need just a little walk in nature. I might just need a bit of space from this, because I need to just catch my breath, because whoa, the way that you treated me yesterday was crazy. It's like, it's just tapping in. And then what do I want? Like, what does Andrea want? It's like, I want to feel good again. I want to feel like I am fit. So maybe you go join that yoga class, or maybe, so it's really cool to just quiet that mind and become self-aware of what it is that you're needing. That was a simple ritual that I started. The other one is this idea of mindfulness. I needed to remove myself, and I call this real-time resilience. Like, these are the things that I needed, like real time, like in the muck of like when I was in the stress of loving someone with an addiction. And that one was really good. Is mindfulness is I would go on a very mindfulness walk. Like, I'd be completely in the present moment, because if I was thinking about the what ifs in the future and the worry, and I'd ruminate, and I'd be like, what if he gets in an accident? What if he's at such and such's house, getting more drugs? What if he's not really getting diesel, and this 4 hours is because he's out getting, on a binge? Or what if? Or in the past, like, oh, I'm so mad at him for doing this, and for like, oh, how could he, like, how is he choosing drugs over me, and this and that? Like, you go into this like verbal thing. So when you push all that away, future, past, and you come right into that present moment, you can find peace there. It's like, that is one of the real-time resilience strategies that I use over and over and over again, whether that be on a walk and going, bird, car, grass, like, what do I smell? What do my feet, like, what am I, all those things, connecting to your senses. It's so beautiful because it brings you calmness. And as you know, when you love someone with an addiction, the stress, like we go constantly in that stress response. And so calming and down regulating that nervous system becomes really essential. And it's hard to do. And mindfulness practices like yoga, going for a mindfulness walk, deep breathing, even just focusing on your breath. It's like, I am breathing in, I am breathing out, coming into the present moment. Right. Yeah. So those are a couple of things that really helped me when I was in the muck.
Those are great. Those are perfect. Those are wonderful. And I know I tell parents too, like, go out in nature and just get away for a while. And I love the mindfulness of just focusing. And again, I agree with you so much. It's so important to not get so wrapped up in the past or get into the what ifs, but try to stay focus on, is your loved one doing okay today? And if they are, then that's good, and go from there. So really good tips. I love that. I think, again, parents and other family members all need so much reminders and suggestions and ideas on how they can help themselves.
Now you did bring up the support groups and things like that too. So I do want to add this, is that you don't have to do this alone. Like that is my main message, is like, I did reach out to my own life coaches, to my own therapists, and also friends. I would, talk to my closest friends about it. You need to know that you're not alone, and it can feel very isolating, and isolation is not a great thing. We want to make sure that even if it's really hard to reach out, to make sure you do so, because that is the thing that really helps you realize your worth. Also recognize that you have a right to be here in this world, and that reaching out to other people will help you also have a sounding board of like, what is going on. And like, sometimes some of the behaviors, and you get gaslit and manipulated. So it's nice to have someone to talk to about it, so that you're not going crazy, as it can feel like that sometimes. So support groups are fantastic too, with like-minded people, or not even like-minded people, but people that have been through what you're going through, because they will understand with so much compassion and empathy what it is that you are going through, and they'll know exactly like many of the feelings and experiences that you are experiencing. So, and then also what's great about support groups is the fact that you will be offering support to others as well. And one of the best ways to struggle well is to be of service to others, because it makes you feel like you're exercising this practice of kindness and also compassion towards others. And then recognizing that you're not alone. So that common humanity makes you really feel a sense of self-compassion as well. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. Support groups, and just reaching out to people who have been through very similar situations as well.
Great. Yeah, that's very helpful. And then you don't feel so, you don't have that judgment, because friends and family can be helpful, some of them, and then some of it, but then other times you can get that judgment or a lot of questions you didn't really want. It's like, I don't, or, advice that you didn't need, or that kind of thing. So
advice,
yeah, I know. Let me tell you how to do this. Great. No, and wonderful. So where can people learn more about you, Andrea? And I know you have some resources that you have a support group that you run, and other things. So yeah, let us know what do you have available to share?
Thank you, Kathy, for that. Yes. So Saving You is Killing Me, Loving Someone with an Addiction. We've got the podcast, we have the support group, we've got the book, and I do have a whole SYKM. It's an abbreviation for it, SYKM, Resilience Program and Platform and Community. And we do meetups every Tuesday. Actually, we have meetups where it's our community comes together, and just so we're here, like, in a Zoom meeting, and it's just so that we don't feel alone, and also so we can pick each other back up. Sometimes, we have themes every single week, and so we do those as well. But yeah, lots of places to connect. And I really, the main message is that you don't have to do this alone, and that there's support out there, and a lot of people that can help you.
Wonderful. That's great to know. That's really good. So I will put all of that in the show notes, and I'll put Andrea's, link, how you get, find her and all the great work that she is doing. So thank you. You're just another wonderful shining light in this, terrible problem that so many families are affected with. And so I just appreciate the work that you're doing, and that you're helping others. And, I just love it when people, have gone through something like this, and then they, rather than just moving on, they look back and help people reach out and move forward, and learn from what they've done. So thank you very much for all that. That's wonderful.
And Kathy, I can't thank you enough as well for all that you're doing too, and supporting the families. And there needs, we turn pain into purpose from our stories. And so I wanted to also extend that gratitude to you as well, and for having me on your show. And of course, and if anyone wants a free resource too, on my website, savingyouiskillingme.com, I have those real-time resilience tips as well. So if you need something urgently, to help boost that resilience, there's a nice freebie there for your listeners.
Perfect. That's great. Okay, Andrea, thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time to stop by.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.